Milwaukee and Brooklyn, another series that was 2-0 and is now 2-2. Brooklyn Nets fans, you might be in trouble here. James Harden tweaked his hamstring and has missed the last couple of games. Kyrie hurt his ankle, and he will be out for Game 5 at a minimum. So your big three is down to KD, and, Blake Griffin, I guess, is now the other big two. Milwaukee's looked much better. They got a huge win in Game 3, where both teams just looked garbage in the fourth quarter, and Milwaukee came back to win that one. And now the series is tied 2-2, and unfortunately, with Brooklyn's injuries, Milwaukee's path to the Eastern Conference Finals is starting to look a little bit better. So let's start with the Nets. KD is going to have to be the dude, and we obviously know he can do that. But what can the rest of the Nets do to control this Bucks team? And if Kyrie and James Harden don't come back, is it over?
It might be. It definitely might be, because outside of KD and Kyrie in this series or in the playoffs and two other guys, there's nobody else who scored double-digit points. And those other guys need to step up big time if Kyrie's going to be out for an extended period of time. Steve Nash comes out and was like, yeah, man, I don't know when Kyrie's going to be back. And James Harden has an injured hamstring. He's not going to be back anytime soon either. So that leaves a big question mark on who that secondary scoring threat outside of KD is. And teams nowadays, you got to have two or three options. That's the only way you win. You can't just have one. It's no longer the early 2000s or the 90s. You have to have multiple scoring options because every other team has a defender who can shut that one person down or play differently. And is it going to be Bruce Brown? Is it going to be Joe Ingles? Who knows? But somebody got to step up. If nobody steps up and KD has to hoist up 45 points a game and everybody else gets 5, they're not going to win the game. You got to have somebody else step up.
Yeah, that's. You kind of wrapped it up. I was really going to look at I look at the Bucks and I say, guys, don't waste this opportunity. It doesn't come by often. I'm not, it sucks that two big guys, fall and come and go down, and all you're left with is KD. But we talk about this depth of the Nets. That all stops. Like it all is built on the premise of those superstars being there, and they're not. Two of the three are not. So I really worry about the Nets, ability to, handle it, because you just look at you got Giannis, you got Chris Middleton. Those guys are going off, playing very, very well. And I just think the Bucks have an opportunity that, they can't waste, because it doesn't come by often. And this is playoff basketball. And some guys get hurt, and you got to find a way for your depth guys to step up. But I just don't know that they have the personnel to beat the Bucks. I just don't.
Yeah. If you're the Bucks, and you don't win this series now with two of the Nets players injured, with, the last couple of years of disappointment endings in the postseason, I don't know how you move forward. I think you have to win this series. You have to take these next 2 or 3 games and win. I would be really concerned for the Bucks franchise moving forward if they don't take this series with the opportunity, as you mentioned, the given, which it's a huge bummer for the Nets. You never want to see guys get hurt, but just from the Bucks perspective, man, they have to win this series now. I think you have to.
You're retooling if you lose, I feel like.
Yeah. It's just now or never.
Are you concerned about Giannis's 3-point shooting and his free throw shooting? Because Giannis is your main scorer, so he's going to get the majority of those shots. But Giannis is shooting 19% from 3 and 38% from the line. Are you concerned about that?
Yeah, he's been awful. So he's not been the Giannis that we know, the MVP Giannis at all. And obviously we saw the whole thing about how long it takes him to shoot a free throw. So he's clearly overthinking a lot of things. So he needs to figure that out. Free throws should be, 80% at least, and 3 points. I think Milwaukee can, dish that out to some other guys, but hit your free throws, man. Just hit the free.
Dude, I worry about the entire team's. The entire team's 3-point percentage is 27%.
Yeah.
In this day and age, that just doesn't. the game's different, right, guys? I mean, you guys know better than me. The game's just different now.
Yeah. I mean, Milwaukee, I think at one point held the record for most threes made in a postseason game last year. I mean, it seems to be broken like every other week now because the game has changed. Tyler, I agree. They have to win the series. They're not going to blow it up because they just signed Middleton and Giannis to huge contracts. So like, you're probably not going to trade those guys away. But unfortunately for the Nets, like they got hurt, and this was always the problem. They have 3 superstars. Blake Griffin is not the guy he used to be. KD, missed a ton of time this year too. He's going to have to carry the load. And their defense is still trash. Like it's still garbage. PJ Tucker has done an amazing job on KD so far this series. And now without Kyrie, Drew Holiday can focus on the other guys, and, PJ Tucker and Giannis can double KD. And that's a really nasty double team that even if you are KD, who's, one of the, most elite scorers in NBA history, that's tough. That's really tough. He'll have to do a LeBron-esque, carry his team like LeBron did with those Cavs teams if the Nets want to make it out of this series. But
I do want to ask really quick. Sorry, I guess bouncing off of what Tyler and I were saying, do we look at Giannis differently if he loses this series? Like, do we look at, because he's kind of struggled in the postseason? I mean, at least taking his team far. Do we look at him differently?
I think if maybe, I don't know. I think like he's such a weird player in today's NBA because, I mean, he's never shot well from 3. He's never done it. He's probably never going to do it. Shooting, what did you say, James? 38% from 38 from charity strike. That's, I mean, fuck, Shaq at least shot like 50%. And he's notorious for being terrible at it. Like, minimum, you should be shooting 50%. I mean, if you're the Nets, I guess you play a defense where you just let Giannis take open threes, like how people play Draymond Green. Like, here, go for it. If you're only going to make 19% of them, that's pretty good math. I think you actually might have to start looking at Giannis as differently if he does lose this, if he loses this series now. If he had lost it with like a healthy Nets team, no. But it's kind of been like handed to him at this point,
James, you had thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think you do. I'm going to go against Alex's logic on this one, mainly because, yeah, they're in the playoffs this year, and they were in the playoffs last year and the year before that. But he's pretty young, and last year was kind of a one-off due to the bubble scenario of it. So you're really kind of like looking at this series or this playoff run as a whole and kind of judging him off of this. As like a newer basketball fan, you're like, oh my God, Giannis is the face of the league, has won MVP 2 years in a row. Yeah, that's cool, but he's also not that refined. He's pretty young, man. Like he came into the league like 170 pounds, and he's put on so much muscle, he has to relearn the way he plays. He's more of an old school basketball guy where he kind of drives the lane as a small forward / power forward rather than shoot threes. The league has evolved to threes, but he's still using that old school approach. And typically with that comes with fouling nowadays because this league is super soft. And so every single time you get touched in the lane or breathed on in the lane, you're going to get a foul called on you. Then you go to the free throw line. So if Giannis can just improve his free throw shot, which is an open shot, man, I can make more free throws than you can, and that's sad. I haven't played ball since high school. Come on, man. Like, the fact of the matter is, if you can improve that one thing, Giannis is going to be a bona fide superstar from this point forward. He's the full player. He can score. He can shoot. He can assist. He can rebound. He can defend because he has the athleticism to do so. To kind of pigeonhole him based off of 2 series, one of which was in the bubble, is unfair. Give him more time, and then we can kind of look at and see if Giannis is the player we think he is. But to do that to a second-year player would be not okay. It would be unfair.
It's true. That's perfect.
I see your point. I'm going to disagree, but we'll move on. Honestly, though, with the 10-second rule, didn't even know that was a thing. I'd never seen that called. I'd never, ever heard of like a 10-second
I'm sorry, I didn't see
free
it.
throw rule. So Giannis was just sitting there dribbling, like looking at the basket, like for 10 seconds, and the refs called it, I guess it's called a 10-second penalty, and he loses his free throw, and the Nets get to take the ball back. Didn't even know that was a thing. Never heard of it.
Wow.
Wild.